lot of familiar faces out there. Good, good. I'd like to see some new faces, though. Oh my gosh. We'll call to order. I got to stand up. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next on the item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Anybody have comments on that?
Yeah, there's been one request by Bill Wentworth to be moved up on the agenda to be right after you.
And he mentioned that to me when I came to the door, and I approved that.
Why do you want to do that?
He has another meeting he has to go to.
Well, I know, but...
You want him not to give his report?
All right, I like it.
Thank you. We can vote on it. Okay. Next on the agenda, do I have an approval of the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Approval of the minutes. We have the first of September 16th, 2015, a special meeting. Everybody had a chance to read them. Does anybody have any questions about them or any changes?
No.
Call for approval of the minutes. A motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, next board meeting is a regular meeting of the board on September 24th. Yeah. Does everybody have a chance to look at that? Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Last but not least, the October 1st meeting at boardroom, special meeting. Everybody had a chance to look at that?
Yes.
Anybody have any questions or changes?
I quit. What are we looking at, Mr. President?
We're looking at the board minutes, Dave.
Oh, the minutes. Okay,
Yeah,
I thought we were
approved.
doing. Okay. Yeah.
I move.
Move. All those in favor?
Second.
Second. I'm sorry. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. My remarks are very, very short. All I'm saying is that I think we're moving along on many issues a little quicker than we have in the past, and I think that's good. We don't want to move too quickly, though. Make sure we cover all the bases. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn over because special request the election report to Bill Wentworth. Bill?
Thank you.
That is in your packet. The middle of the package.
Thank you, Susan.
Looks like this.
Thank you. And Jack, thank you for acquiescing to allow me to go up on the agenda.
You're welcome.
So that I can accompany my wife to follow up visit a heart surgery she had, so I appreciate that.
Yours, sir. Excuse me, I did not know it was anything serious.
Okay.
I apologize.
Not a problem. Before I get into the election report, I'd like to make some comments regarding to exactly what the election committee is and its responsibilities. The election committee is independent from the board of directors. It is solely responsible for all aspects of the election process. This independence is necessary in order to ensure that there is no impropriety that could influence the election outcome. And I thought I wanted to do that. So people understand the election committee is more than just announcing the results at the end of the annual meeting and quantifying that there is a quorum, those types of things. So I think get out there exactly what the election committee is all about. Having done that, I'd like to go to the election committee report, and I will acquiesce to the fact that now that I'm 70 years old, I have to wear my reading glasses to do this, okay?
Well, you get to be 77, then you have to have earphones too.
I understand. First of all, the results of the 2015 election was as follows. Tom Herrick received 1,669 votes. Cheryl Jacobs, 1,480 votes. Slobodan Trendic received 1,195 votes. Terry Moore, 873. Harold Ledwick, 671. Bill Zawacki, 620. Ray Unger, 219, which gave us our two new elected directors, with Tom Herrick being the number one vote getter, and Cheryl Jacobs being the number two vote getter. Moving on, if you look at page 2 of the report, election statistics, there were 7,403 members eligible to vote on July 30th, 2015, and the eligibility to vote means you had to have your assessment paid, which is 30 days before the election. Total vote count for the 2015 election was 6,707. The Scantron system processed 3,421 ballots. There were 37 ballots counted manually, and some of those things were done because of it was you had to avoid it was a crink in the ballot, or there was something faulty with the ballot that the Scantron kicked out. Then we had looked at that. We found that just about all the ones that were kicked out had a similar issue, and that was the color ink on the ballot were consistently kicked out. So we looked at as we get rid of ballots, have purchased them, or association has purchased those ballots, bought not in the election, but when there's a referendum, the same type of ballot is used. So as we process through those, get those replaced by the color ballot, kick them out. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there were 37 that were counted manually. There were 31 ballots rejected, 2 of them improper envelope, 2 address that. Improper envelope. As much as we lay it out, how you're supposed to do it, we had several people who may own, or 2 of them, who own more than one property. So instead of using 2 separate envelopes, as directions say we must do, they're putting both ballots in one envelope. And it's laid out real clearly, you're not supposed to do that. And this is a continuous problem. I'll feel about it. The only thing we give them the information, tell them what's expected, and if they don't follow the situation, that's where that lies. Five people mailed blank ballots. 22 people voted for more than 2, and there were 14 duplicate ballots. Duplicate ballots are those who might call and say, dog ate my ballot, or I spilled my coffee on my ballot, those types of things. And Stan works with us in the counting part of that. She verifies. We give them a duplicate ballot, then we verify that ballot is used. Okay. Quorum. We had a quorum at the annual meeting. We did not require any proxy ballots. We had 112 people at the meeting. You qualify a quorum. So that took care of that. As far as activities of the committee, the elections committee was activated in April, met every month through September of 2015. In April, the election committee reviewed an election schedule, reviewed and adjusted. The election committee report recommendations from 2014 were reviewed and discussed. The phase plan news releases was discussed. In May, letters were to all candidates, explaining the election process, obtaining instructions for posting signs, and requesting biographical information. Also, 3 questions were included in requests for answers that would be reported in the newsletter sent to the press. Press release announcing candidates was released. OPA staff made the decision to hire ACE Printing and Mailing to be the printing contractor for the election season, sending out an RFP is directed to collect all ballots, including those in the mailbox located in the administration building on a daily basis throughout the process. June 11th, the candidate draw was done. We set the order of candidate seating at the candidate forum. ACE Printing will place the names in the ballot in the same order as the candidate forum. Print ballots for mailing. Press release was done with regard to the candidate draw. On June 24th, candidates forum was run by the Elections Committee for the Ocean Pines community, and press release was done. The voting material was prepared by the OPA staff and the committee in late June. Voting material was finalized and sent to the printer in the first week of July. Ballots were scheduled to be mailed the second week of July. Daily telephone monitoring of the special election phone line managed problems, questions about ballot from Ocean Pines members. Press release was done. That telephone thing is, we have someone on the committee, once the election process starts, manage a special telephone line, whereas if people have a question about, I didn't get my ballot, I paid my dues, and a lot of that stuff is where people have moved and not formed OPA, maybe still live in OPA, but do not form OPA of change of address, where people have property here but own 2 properties and moved to a second property, didn't inform us of the new mailing address, those types of things. They were usually the calls that we received. On August 7th, ballots were counted by the election committee. August 9th, committee staffed the registration table at annual meeting, check required identification, picture ID, which could be driver's license of each attending member, that the form could be validated. Now, with regard to that, obviously each property did 1 vote, and form was decided by 1 vote for each member, each property member. So we may have had more than 112 people there, much husband, wife, that sort of thing. Count one person for each property. Okay. Okay.
Go to the next page.
Yep. Okay. The elections chair reported the results of the election at the annual meeting. Press release was sent out reporting the results. Final meeting was held in September to review the activity of the committee during the election season, and a financial report was done. The financial report is as follows. Printing and mailing, $4,715.06. Extra insert, $1,309.78. IT cost, $1,437.50. Total cost, $7,462.34. Recommend improvements as far as the process goes. Use a PowerPoint visual for audience and candidates. Provide hard copy of questions for candidates. Revisit time allowed for various aspects of the candidate forum. Have candidates be seated on stage in order for the audience to see them. Improve the workshop for candidates in preparation for the forum. They are recommendations to the committee. We recommend try to do next election season. Procedures on the functions of the committee during the canning process and the annual meeting responsibilities were complete. Include voting eligibility requirements in the election material. Recommendations to the Board of Directors. One, the election committee recommends that OPA identification cards be approved. Cards should have have the name of the member plus the section lot on the card. It was an improvement to have members' picture on the card, but unless a scanner is available, barcode is a useless tool. ID. Currently, a second ID must be requested by the committee for verification. In other words, your membership card is no good because there's no picture on it, so we have to ask for the driver's license, so on and so forth. Election committee recommends that the payment plan letter be modified to include no member may vote if 35 days prior to the voting deadline, member has failed to pay annual charge. This is Article 3, Section 301 of our bylaw. The reason why that's important, people don't meet the deadline, and that's one of the reasons they don't get a ballot. And that's one of the reasons you need to meet that deadline by bylaw.
Hey, Bill, let me,
Yeah.
I need to start with clarification on this. If the ballots are due August 6th, 7th, or whatever.
Right.
So you're saying that as late as July 2nd or 3rd, they can pay their dues? If math isn't working for me, that you have time to print the ballots and
Well, they have to pay it by 35 days prior to the election by ballot, which is
But this says prior to the voting deadline, which is the day before you count. That's the only reason I'm asking it, because this is saying it's from the deadline, which is in August.
May I make a comment on that question or not? Not quite. Oh, no, it's okay.
where are you seeing that? What I just said, Tom?
It says that prior to the voting deadline, which is Thursday prior to the annual meeting.
Prior to the which is 35 days prior to the meeting or the voting deadline.
Put it around the 4th or the 5th
Yeah.
of July is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that puts us almost at the 4th of July, and you have to have all of the materials ready, mailing labels and all that kind of stuff. I don't, or are you saying 35 days prior to when the ballots are mailed out?
Correct.
Okay, so then this needs to be reworded,
Yeah.
the mailing of the ballots.
The mailing of the ballots.
Not the deadline. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Prior to mailing the ballots. Printer contractor overall did an excellent job with the election. Did everything that requested in the contract. Committee wants to continue to develop information packets for the candidates, offer in-service sessions for the candidates, and we're looking at improving some of the things that we're doing as far as the service program to improve that product and to provide further assistance to the candidates and help prepare them for what they're doing as far as running election. In summary, 2015 election process went smoothly with two new directors elected to office. All documentation for the 2015 notebook, ballots, envelopes, listing are stored in the election cabinet at the OPA Administration Building. All 2014 envelopes and listings have been destroyed. Record books for the past 5 years have been retained and stored. Clarify that. We, at the end of, for example, 2015 election process, just ended. When after the 2016 election ballots are counted, the 2015 ballots are destroyed and 2016 ballots are stored in the cabinet. So all the information, the booklet we have that has all the stuff that happens during the election process, all that's kept on election count. Okay. 2000 election process went smoothly and was successful. This success result dedicated members believe in the residents' right to vote, governance, and also preserving the integrity of the ballot. Thank you to all the dedicated, hardworking election committee members, Cheryl Bissell, Frank Danowski, Steve Smith, Judy Butler. Thank you to the valuable guidance of the board liaison, Ms. Pat Noel. Much appreciation to the OPA staff, Teresa Travacola, Dan Meyer. Teresa was helpful in every phase of the process, especially preparing voting material, working with the printer. Ruth Ann handled big responsibility of ballot reallocation and her interaction with members who had concerns about ballots for the election. She understood the important factor of accounting. Thank you to volunteer timekeeper Tom Butler, who helped as the candidates forum. Thank you to the following residents who assisted at the registration table at the annual meeting: Carol Terry, Mark Bear, Tom Butler. Respectfully submitted by me.
Bill, just one more question from me, having to do the last year's situation. In the process of putting together mailing materials that are going out, we obviously had a glitch this year where the answers from one of the candidates was not correctly listed.
Correct.
Who has the final sign-off authority of editing that document to make sure it is correct before it goes to printing? In your process, who is the final person that says this thing is ready to go and it's correct and done right?
The committee.
The committee has that.
Committee.
So the materials.
So in that situation where that occurred, then it's on me as chairman of the committee.
I wasn't throwing a bunch of rocks at you.
Oh, no, I don't have a problem.
In other words, each one of them review the whole process, make sure questions are under the right person's name and all that type. Correct?
Yes.
Hopefully we shouldn't have that happen.
That's correct. Now, we had no control. Now, this is the publicity that we send out. We have no control whatsoever of that information that's sent out by OPA in the annual report, wherever it is. But that information was also sent.
Quarterly,
Okay,
so where the problem was.
Yeah. And that's where the problem was. We have no control.
So you have no review
Of what OPA, of what,
okay.
that's correct.
Cheryl?
Bill, a couple of things. One, I want to comment on one of the things that you said about problems with people not understanding what the correct procedure is, and make a suggestion that when we publicize the results, we also publicize the problems that occur and make people aware of the fact that you lost your opportunity to have a say because you didn't follow the procedure, and just to emphasize that along with printing results. The other thing I had was actually a question. It occurred to me during the process that there was the potential of a problem, and so I just wanted to ask for some clarification. You consider the postmark date for a ballot, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It will be counted based on them getting it postmarked on the last day when.
Yes, ma'am, and that's 5.5.
And isn't there a potential problem, though, that the mail can be delayed and therefore you don't get it in time? I mean, I thought about that when I was going through the process.
Well,
Has that ever been an issue?
not in the 3 years that I've been involved with it. Now, is it a potential issue? Sure. You could have a snowstorm, not that time of year. Hurricane.
Well, I mean, but people live out of town, and mail, our U.S. mail, as much as we like to think it's terribly efficient, it isn't always, and I just wondered about that because such a large percentage of the people here in the community are non-residents, and therefore they would be mailing probably their ballots.
The only issue we've had close to that is they live out of town and they have a second property. Okay? and where they live out of town, they move another residents out of town, and not report. And that's, of course, the residents out of town is the official residence, and that's where,
Right,
okay.
right.
So they live, let's say they live in Timonium, Maryland, and they move from Timonium to Columbia, and they don't report new address, OPA, then it's going to go to the original property. That's the only issue with that.
Do you keep stats at all on how many ballots that were mailed came in too late to be counted?
Yeah, I'm sure we do. Yeah, I don't have it here in the report, but I'm sure that would be that they didn't meet the.
Right. I mean, the postmark was correct, but they didn't get to you in time to be counted, which potentially could happen.
In that situation, then we have to make a decision. If they mail it again, can't control Mother Nature. Let's say that. And if the postmark was correct, then we'll, in all likelihood, I've never encountered that.
No, you can't count it if it's not received until after.
Right. That's how that.
I'm just wondering if that.
You can't count it until the ballot date has to be on that time.
Well, Bill, that would surely show up in the statistic. Yeah. You have everything else mailed out the 3,421 ballots, and then you talk about ones that were counted manually, ones that were rejected, and the duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't say it was too late. I mean, there's no, I had 14 came in too late. And I would think that had happened, that you would have included it.
And we'll make sure in the future to do that.
Yeah, but did it happen? Do you know to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Yes, I'm suspecting that.
Right. Because I avoid making up, do all that stuff, so it didn't happen.
Any other comments?
Great work.
Thank you very much. You did a lot of hard work, I know, so I saw you do it.
Thank you, folks, and thank you for the question. Good. We'll get stuff. Try to work the process. Thank you, Madam General.
Okay, moving along, then the next thing that I have on the agenda is General Manager's report. Bob Thompson. Jack said you can't talk more than 3 hours.
25 minutes.
Mark it down, because I'm
I got it.
going to talk slow for you.
I got it. It's 9:35. He has 27. He has 9:37. You get 2 extra minutes.
I'm using his.
All right, I'll be quick for Jack. Probably going out to golf or something, right? All right. Do a little manual click here.
Before you get started, Bob, so this is for, consumed via reading it, and then this, you're not going to go over any of this. This is your presentation.
I've given a written report. I'm about to give an oral report that covers some of that, but not all the details.
Not all.
Correct.
Okay, I got it.
Since my clicker's not working, I'll just hit here. The capital projects are, I want to cover first for you. All right, a lot's been talked about with the bridges, bridge repairs versus bridge replacement. So there's an outline in your written GM report. I just hit the highlights here for the visual, I think to reinforce it. Bridge repairs, I'm going to start with that first. We're working with DBF Engineering as we reported before. We're working through the permit process. They're being completed by the DBF team. Those permits go to MDE and the Army Corps of Engineers. The also are working on their design drawings, which have to be 50% complete. And it's basically a very rudimentary drawing of what the work that we plan to have done. And all that's due and will be reviewed by the end of this month from us. Permitting, permit approval process estimates 3 to 4 months from submission to get that work approved through those two entities. Our plan is to have that applications, both of them, out by the first week of November, end of the first week. Requests for proposals will be, once all the drawings are fully vetted out, not just the 50% complete, we'll then finalize the RFP, and that'll go out by the end of November, or be complete by the end of November, gives us a week or so to review it, and then have it out on the street for folks to look at and bid on the work. Proposals are due back by 15 February. And then from there, if you remember, I said 3 to 4 months. That end of February timeframe is when we should expect both the applications that are being submitted at the end of, or being submitted early in November. Both should be wrapped up by then, so everything should fall into place right by that last week and a half of February, where we can then move forward with the process. Estimate the work should be about 6 weeks per bridge. If you recall, last month you asked me, for the repair work, would the bridges need to be closed? The bridges will not. They can operate with one lane. It's going to require some additional, obviously, manpower to do that, but they'll operate with one lane while they're working on the opposite side. So we did go through that. So that is a very, very high-level, quick review of bridge repairs. You have a little more detail in your written report. Yes, sir. Simultaneously, we're working down bridge replacement. Cost estimates. DBF Engineering is working on construction cost per linear foot for two types of bridges. We actually looked at multiple types of bridges. When I say multiple, there are three primary. All timber, precast construction with potential timber railing, or all concrete with a metal railing, bless you, like you see on the state highway roads, where you just have the metal rails. So we've asked DBF to come back to us and kind of give some further calculations on what a timber bridge would cost us, and with the precast with the wood rails. The advantage, we're going to give you pros and cons of both. That's part of what we're putting together now. But the advantage of the precast concrete, you can get a higher arch. And under those two bridges, having a higher pass-through feels going to be advantageous. So we're looking at both of those options. Our goal is to have the bridge styles, the precast versus timber, vetted out and brought to the board for the November meeting, so you all can take a look at it and say, hey, we like this design or that design. And again, it's not going to be the final design on the bridge. It's just the timber versus precast. And we'll give you pros and cons to both, and we'll give you a recommendation that you all will be able to look at, any questions you have, and then we'll finalize which way we want to go with it. From there, we'll refine the cost estimates. So what will happen is if we say, okay, let's go with the timber bridges, we'll get the final cost estimates from DBF, which includes the construction cost, mobilization cost, detour cost, and engineering cost, and any other cost associated with replacing the bridges. And then at that, and remember, that's going to be in the January timeframe. So then we're going to fall right into that February window where we're going to be able to take a look and say, here's what the cost to replace the bridges will be. Here's what the cost to repair. We have an estimate for the repair. We have a bid for the repair. Which way do we want to proceed? So you'll have all the information in coming months. So this kind of gives you a timeline for each, so you know what's happening right now. And again, you'll have more detail. You have more details in your written report. Yes.
Well, basically, you're saying that replacement. Well, we know that the cost of, at least the estimate cost of repair is supposed to be about
for both bridges.
both.
Correct. Yes.
And you're going to look at replacement cost and then determine independently of whether or not, we go through the process of trying to cover independently.
Yes, sir.
Whether or not it would be a good idea to replace them rather than repair them.
Correct.
No.
Yes.
That's not what I heard.
That's what I'm reading right now.
Okay.
Okay, but I mean, it comes to the board. You're asking the board for correction on that.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, that's
Yeah.
not what I heard you
Yeah,
say.
but this is different than I had imagined it before. Last week, but we were going down the staff, looking at the permit process in terms of whether or not, recovering.
We're doing that as well.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do right now we need to have firm costs to replace the bridge, repair the bridge, so we're smarter about that decision. At the same time, we're also going through what's the application process for funding for replacement, what time frame, what type of funding solution, state or federal funding. So we're also looking at that as well. But we need to know, we need to get started on what it would cost to replace it, what it's going to cost to repair it. With repairs being more immediate, we're moving as quick as we can through that process to have that ready to go so those bridges can have the work done in the springtime.
And we're going to make that decision with pleasure repair.
End of February?
End of February.
It may be accelerated depending on when we can gather the additional information.
Okay. And at that point, comes down to repair, are we going to have all of the information relative to the ancillary costs places aren't present?
Yes.
Repair?
Yes. Mobilization, detour, all the additional things that have to come into play for replacement. Yes, sir.
Just on your estimate of cost of $243,100 per bridge, did you include, or does that include, the preliminary engineering and the permitting expenses?
I believe it says.
Well, it just says, I'll give you the heading, mobilization. Yeah, here it is, Bob.
That's fine.
The mobilization, demolition, concrete repair, rails, sidewalks, approach rails, soil grade stable, traffic control.
It does. I just didn't break it in.
Okay.
In there.
So
Yes,
it's probably
it
the
does.
mobilization.
Yeah. You notice I have a 10% contingency.
Right.
That should cover some of those costs.
Okay, well, okay.
Again, these were estimates.
It would just be clear. We indicated what preliminary engineering committee. Now, I don't know what the state charges, county charges, process.
Sure. We'll have those items broken down, but I can't imagine it's more than a few $100s on
okay.
$1 million project.
Okay, well, if it's that small, okay.
I mean, that's what permits usually cost. I mean, but we'll find out. We've never done a bridge replacement, so you're right. We'll have that. That's part of where we are right now, is just trying to vet to get everything we possibly can so you all can make an informed decision, but not slow down the repair work. We'll go ahead and bid that out, put it out for RFP, get the bids back, level them, and have that available as well. It may be where we just say, look, let's repair them for now. It's 2 years to replace it, to get funding in place. We'll start that process. We'll have to make an educated decision, but we need a little more information. That's what we're getting. Okay. Another capital project, just as a quick update, the Manklin Meadows project, frontal draft, RFP, specifications, final design drawings were just received. We're expecting the final Worcester County stamp of approval for the plan itself. By mid-November, we'll send out the RFP requesting the work for the project. That's site work, stormwater, those type of things. We'll send it out, and then 2 weeks later we'll do a walkthrough. So anybody who has any questions after they've reviewed it can come walk the site with us and ask any questions. So that'll be our walkthrough date. We're expecting to have critical area approval by the end of November as well. If you remember our time frame, we had a 90-day approximate window when we submitted. So everything, again, we're trying to line everything up. So everything should fall about that same time. And then proposals are due back mid-December. And from there, we'll make recommendations to the board by the December board meeting. Construction will begin sometime in early January, depending on making sure we have all the approvals and making sure weather. Weather may have an impact on that, with completion sometime in the spring. So it's a general outline. We'll keep updating every month as we get a little closer to it. sorry that it's a little light on the board, but we just finished if you remember, we did the wall at the beach club on the ocean side. We left it as concrete with the intent to put the block on at the end of the season. That work's now been finished. Just so I'd show you a couple pictures of it. If you get a chance, right over and take a look. It actually looks really, really nice. Other RFPs or other projects we're working towards, if you recall, Sports Court Pool, that'll be a mid to late summer project, but we're ramping up, preparing the RFP information now. In St. Martin's Road, that's with some drainage concerns, piping right out here. We're going to put that out for RFP as well. We actually have that crafted. It's just about ready to go out. Leaf removal, I said last month, I said at the town hall meeting, I just want to read it. It's on the website. Just want to reiterate, now's the time to start bagging your leaves. Folks tend to forget it. We get folks that are upset or concerned or they're raking leaves into the ditches. Please don't do it. We have a process in place that's effective if everyone helps us with it. So I just wanted to reiterate what it is. If you bag your leaves for us to pick up, please make sure they're in brown paper bags because that's what. Yes, sir.
Go back. You have other RFPs. Sports Corps, you're going to go over this?
I just did a minute ago.
Could you flesh them out a little bit?
Sure. Sports Court Pool was where we're refinishing the pool and the decking.
Right.
If you recall, we're going to do it this year, and we decided to push it because it was falling into the fall, which would mean we'd have the pool shut down. So we decided to wait until next summer when all the pools are up and operational. So in addition to that, we're making some modifications to entry to the pool. So we have all that written up now. We're going to go ahead and put that out for bid now for the work to be done next summer.
There were some weak spots in the corner in the pool itself. They're addressed also.
I don't know about.
We pointed them out to us when we were taking our.
Oh, it needs to be. It's 40. The surfacing of the pool is in bad shape. So that's where all of the. If you recall, all the plaster is pretty much worn down to the base coat, and that's what we're looking at around the edging and everything. Yes, that'll all be part of that.
And the St. Martin's Road RFP?
That's for out here for the piping.
Right.
Because it's a major artery, and we're going to have to block the road, so we're going to put that out for bid to see what type of cost and time frame it would work.
Do you have a time frame on that RFP?
That'll go out the next week to 10 days. We have it pretty much written. We're just validating some of the calculations and such that we've been provided from the county to make sure when it goes out, we get the right information back.
Very good.
Yeah, question. Just like being straight on.
Sure.
Coming back to the
Maple Meadows project?
No, the one, the beach club.
Yes, sir.
Is that the capital expenditure of $70,000 that's shown in your capital summary the last? I mean, is that where the money?
It wasn't that much. It may be part of it for the beach club. Remember we did the fence. We changed from the vinyl to the metal or aluminum fence, the metal fencing, and then we did that back wall. So yes, it's all part of that.
Yeah, but then there are other things.
There are other things in there, yes, sir.
Yeah, I might ask, how far would for us to get? It would be nice to have a list of what they were spent on.
Okay. I mean, I can get you that information.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I mean, It doesn't have to go into financials, yes, but maybe it's an addendum or another sheet.
Okay. Just quickly by the numbers, you all have this in your packet. It's a summary of your monthly controllers report, and things are performing real well. A couple of the highlights I wanted to point out to you: the Yacht Club. Now remember, Yacht Club Plus includes Marina, but if you look at your controllers report, for 5 months in a row, the Yacht Club's been profitable. Art went back and looked at numbers for me. He went as far back as 1996, and we've never been profitable for the first 5 months of the year. So it's kind of a very, very positive thing for us right now. So we went back and looked at that. Things are moving well there. Aquatics, doing extremely well also. And again, that's reflected in the written report, but I just wanted to highlight those things. So overall, the operational side is performing well. Even golf, with their F&B ops, even though it's in red, remember this slide is to budget. they're actually still profitable as well. So everything on this slide represents to budget, but the actual numbers, they're ahead as well, ahead of last year's numbers. So all that's looking real good right now. Upcoming event, I've had some folks ask, and actually Mr. Stevens and I were talking about coming in. This weekend is the Fall Festival. It should be extremely busy. If you ever want to come out and see families and kids and fun, it's a great weekend for it. And we're also, typically there are 3 different events. One of the bigger ones is Shao School. At the same time we're doing ours, and we end up getting a blend, bouncing between the two. Everyone did theirs last weekend, so we're expecting a big turnout this weekend. So that should be extremely positive. Any questions on my report?
On the other report, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Nothing you covered in the slides. Go. Basically, my question, and this question is generated because question comes up, has come up from the Dolphin community, if you will, or members of it. Meetings with the LU, Landscapes Unlimited. The contract talks about reporting, and it says it's understood, first of all, that all data reports generated by the manager, that's LU, I mean, they're agreeing, which are associated with the management course are accessible by the association's general manager and OPA report. So much not later than October 15th of each calendar year during terminus or any renewal hereof, manager, LU, a draft written business plan to be reviewed by the OPA general manager and designated representative of the directors. After review and modifications as needed, the business plan shall be submitted for inclusion in the budget, and it shall include an operations plan, a maintenance plan, a food and beverage plan, sales and marketing plan, and a membership. You all recall that LU, their primary focus feature, in telling us why they should be our next golf manager was to build membership. And certainly very pertinent input capital improvement. So my question is, did we get that information on October 15th? Have we had the meeting with LU?
I have monthly meetings per the contract, so yes, I'm following the contract there. Yes, we received the information on October 15th.
Okay, and when will the board get it?
I've given it to the board liaison, Bill Cordwell, after I received it. We can certainly have that passed on to the board as well. There's no action for the board on it.
Well, it's not action, it's information. We have the information.
No, understood. My job is to provide to the board liaison, which I have done. Mr. Cordwell, he has it. I can certainly have additional copies made for the rest of the board if you like.
Well, I don't know about the other members of the board. I think there are several that would like to see that information. Anybody not want to see that?
Yeah, I would.
As to what LU is
I
doing?
think that's a fair.
That's fine. No problem.
So we would like to have those plans, and I think each and every time we have this board meeting. Now, we are talking, there are 2 separate meetings that are referred to in the contract. One, we already referred to month, and then there's the owner's executive, where manager senior representatives, LU's senior representative, will be quarterly, so 3 designated representatives of the OPA board of directors. Now, I've been on all the meetings so far, and I do not know that our board has designated 3 representatives to go to that meeting, whether or not that meeting is held.
Would you like to answer that?
Go ahead.
It's scheduled for November, early November. I want to tell you the 5th or 6th. I have it on my calendar. I believe it's the 5th. And the designated board members, for Mr. Renault, for Pat Renault, Bill Cordwell as the liaison, golf, and Tom Perry as treasurer.
And who else? There's three.
That's
Just says three.
Pat Renault, 1, Tom
Okay.
Terry, 2, Bill Cordwell, 3.
Yeah.
So that's been scheduled for the contract as well.
No, I'm not.
It is what it is.
Jackson, well, maybe it is, but I think everybody has to know it. What authority is the president the right to designate who those representatives are going to be without even a discussion in front of the board? I do not believe he has that authority.
This isn't a question for the general manager, Mr. Stevens. That's a board discussion.
No, you're correct. It is, and I suggest that you schedule it today. If you do it in our closed session, that. But
He's out of it, Pat. It's between you two. He's out of it.
because he is out of it now. I agree with you. Look, it's not for you,
You're right.
but on the other hand, the subject doesn't come up anywhere in our agenda unless we here.
Again, we're meeting from
Now,
the association, we're meeting the contract. I've set the dates. You need to change the players. That's a board decision.
Now,
If you want me to defend it now, I can. Or I can wait until later.
well, I will say that, we're trying to get a new contract, trying our best to make that contract successful. And what you have as our liaison to that is three people who are adamant opposed, and most adamantly opposed, with the exception of Pat, who did vote for that contract. And now to say, take those three people and say that this is the way we're going to get along with this contract is just plain ludicrous. It's not a fair representation of the board, and it's not balanced for a judge, and it's not something that if we put this to a vote, which I should, that I'm going to vote. Everybody else make up their own mind. It's not balanced. Moreover, it's not three people, except for who are not really very experienced with the history of the golf course and what not. Anyway, I will.
That's a golfer. They're not experienced.
Well, no, I'm an experienced golfer.
I'll defer to you.
The plan should also include the basis for monthly reporting to the OPA general manager and up to 3 designated representatives. And now I had, during my term, appointed and told the board who I was appointed and asked whether for objections. Without objection, I'm going to appoint Bob Kessler and John McMillan.
Jack Howell.
And Jack Holmes, one board member, 2 members of the community who are very familiar with golf, who have been active in tracking golf administration over a period. And there was no objection to that, so they were appointed. Now I'm just asking, was there a board meeting that unappointed them, or was that just an arbitrary by one person who doesn't have authority?
Dave, did you just say that when you were the president, that's exactly what you did?
I
You made the appointment?
I made an appointment, and I asked.
How
but
is that different from what Pat has done, except
There
for the
had-
discussion?
There was no. It's a standard way for
Brought it to the board.
to bring it to the board's attention. You say without objection, we're going to assign this person to that committee. Without objection, these are the 2 people who I believe can serve as well. Anybody.
So,
on
but
the
you're
board-
talking about a difference in presentation versus authority to do so?
No, you're Jack. I'm answering. No, Joe. I'm not talking. It's about significantly different. I mean, it never was even brought to attention, and it was never discussed. The first time I knew about it was when I read Pat's interview in the Progress.
Right.
And never discussed before the board. It was simply, I can do this, therefore I'm going.
But I'm asking for a point of clarity when you say a president doesn't have the authority, but then you say, when I was president, I did it. Now, the method that you used to do it was different, but you were questioning at first, and that's what I'm trying to clarify, whether or not he has the authority.
He does not have the authority without the agreement of the board. That's as simple as that. Does not have.
Exactly.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Okay,
know what your position
you
was.
understand. Okay, now let's continue. The plant monthly reporting meetings to the OPA general manager and three designated OPA board representatives. And they were just, as I say, arbitrarily changed. Now, I want to say one more thing. There was a reason the contract was written, a really good reason. Over 4 years of our past contracting, we received little or no information from what was going on with that. Now, Bob, shake his head, and we'll agree to disagree strongly. We will. Nevertheless, we never had, except during the budget time, when they brought the citizens, we never had a face-to-face meeting between board or board representatives with Casper. 4 years of that. I'll defy you to show me any
It's
report.
factually incorrect.
Okay. Tom, correct?
Yeah, correct. Hold it here. We had a face-to-face meeting with the executives and the entire board when you were not on the board, Dave, in the country club. So while you weren't there, we may not have had a meeting, but the year that you weren't on the board, we did.
When did this?
Was that?
When you
Rob
first
and
hired them? When you
No,
first hired them?
no, this was 2-3 years into their contract. We had a meeting in the country club, face-to-face, over their budget estimates that they were making.
Oh.
Okay.
Now, this was
You weren't
at-
on the board then.
This was that part of the budget process. I did say that once a year during the budget process, they came in. But what we never knew is what their plans were. We never knew what their marketing. We never knew exactly how, if any, if at all, they were going to build a membership, or even if they cared. We were in the dark. I saw information when they came in, when they moved and gave their presentation to try and win the new contract. I saw information. I sat next to John Malinowski and I said, John, I've never seen this information. It's really interesting. And guess what? He said, I gave it all to the general manager. So, you know what? We never got it. And we ended up making a significant decision, actually replacing contracts without ever having had all the information. And I really objected.
Mr. Stevens, that's just factually inaccurate, sir, and you've been provided an opportunity to see the information as board president. I tried to share it with you multiple times well before any change in management. It was tracked. If you recall, we entered into a 3-year agreement with BCG. Things were not performing at the level the board wanted that to perform at. So they said, we're going to give you a extended term, a 3-year contract, but a 1 year we get out if we don't like the direction we're heading. At that point, I was directed to have regular meetings, which I started to do, outlining every action they were taking. I documented that every month. I went through it in great detail to include their marketing plan, their focus, their expenditures in great detail. Mr. Terry was aware of it as board president because we sat periodically, we would talk about it. It was never asked of me during a board meeting, or I certainly would have shared it. I did give you regular updates at board meetings where they were and what was happening through that process. I didn't do a presentation format because that wasn't something that the board at the time preferred. But prior to that, I certainly did. So to say we didn't receive the information is just not, I mean, I have it. I tried to show it to you. It was a huge binder that you and I spoke about several times in my office.
There's never any time you pulled out a document like that and said, here, Dave, do you want to read this? Yeah.
Now, see, we're getting off track here.
That's right.
And hold on. We're getting off track here. The bottom line is, we wrote this contract in order to open up the process so that individual members of the golf community, individual members of the assessment paying community, and the board of directors were aware of what was going on as far as that golf campus was concerned. That was the thrust, that was the spirit of that contract. I don't see a problem why it can't be opened up to all the members of the board and all the members of the golf community, as well as the community in general, by senior management, who I assume is going to come from someplace out of state, by senior management making a presentation to 3 designees that Pat Renault has selected and Bob Thompson. Why can't that be made to the entire board? Why can't that be televised, like this particular meeting is being televised, so that the members of the golf community can realize who they have as a manager, what that manager is all about in terms of building individual membership. And the individual board members can feel comfortable with what is going on at that particular campus. And the individuals who pay the bills, the dues paying, assessment paying members out there who may not even play golf, can take the opportunity to tuning in electronically and finding out what in heaven's name is going on. I think that is really, really healthy and extremely democratic and very, very useful. And I don't understand the objection to that kind of an approach at all. I don't get it.
Just as a point of reference, and I don't want to be too far off track, but just to clarify, 2 things. One, that management meeting, from my understanding, is supposed to be discussing contractual matters, how they're performing to their contract. So if it's a contractual matter, the board actually does have a right to have a closed session so they can have an open discussion about a contractual matter with a third-party contract. As for being open about what has been occurring, all summer long, we've had a board representative at the meetings that I... Yes, sir?
Two meetings. Two meetings that I'm aware of. One of those meetings, only one of the designees from the golf community attended that meeting. The other designee had a conflict with the schedule. 2 meetings. So when you say all summer long, I'm aware of 2 meetings.
Okay. Per the contract, just for the entire board's clarity, I've met monthly per the contract with LU. And 2 of the meetings, we did have a board member, Mr. Collins, attend. And one of the meetings since then, I've had Mr. Cordwell attend. So you've had board representation at the meetings per the contract. So we're not doing anything, hiding anything. We're meeting the contract per the contract. The majority of you on that end wrote. So
all I'm saying is I'm looking for a way to open it up. That's all. I'm not trying to put you in the middle. I'm not trying to usurp your authority. I'm not trying to make you a second-hand player. All I'm saying is the object of the exercise in writing that contract, and this man sat right next to me during the whole process, the object of the exercise in writing that contract was to open up process. It is not being opened up.
All right, Jack, let me summarize, I think, so we can move on. What you're saying is, instead of having just 3 people attend this quarterly meeting, you're suggesting that the whole board attend. Is that what you're suggesting?
And that it be a public meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if there is a contractual meeting that has to take place. That can go into closed session just like we're doing here today. When we finish our 2.5-hour meeting here today and go into another 2.5-hour meeting in a closed session. Do the same thing with LU. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure LU wouldn't have a problem with it. Open up the process. Let these folks know what in heaven's name is going on.
Let the people who are paying the bills know that these people are making a sincere effort or they are not. We need to know.
Jack, are you suggesting that LU make a presentation like we've invited Chop Tank in to do or other
That
vendors?
was exactly the tone and tenor of the agreement with LU and the contract. Yeah.
That's a different thing. I'm sure they'd be interested in making a presentation about what's going on with golf for anybody to show up.
If I may, Cheryl, I think a presentation would be part of it. The real question is we should have documentation. We should have it in our hand right now. It says so. Business plan, including those 6 items, the operations plan, membership plan. We should have that by now. They're contractually obligated. We're not looking for a formal presentation, a slick presentation, and they're pretty good. But what we want is the opportunity to probe and ask questions. Are they really doing anything about membership or not?
But that's a contractual, which would have to be in a closed session.
No, absolutely not.
How they're performing to the contract?
No, not how they're performing to the contract. It's not a we want to know what their approach is.
What their plan is.
We want their business plan. Now, read the business plan. I'm sure you'll get it. And you'll probably have a question or two. And you'd like the opportunity to answer that question. It's as simple as that. It's simply exchanging information. We're not holding their feet to the fire or saying anything. We're saying, well, what are you doing? What's your approach? We don't understand.
That's not part of the contract? What are you doing? What's your approach? Isn't that part of the contract? I'm confused by you saying that's
Well,
not
then
part
read
of
the
the
contract,
contract.
and Cheryl read the contract, and then.
I have. I have.
Well, then what's the thrust of your question? What do you
And
ask?
are you saying that we
Well,
can't?
the thrust of my question is, Dave is talking about contractual things, and yet he's disagreeing that they are contractual things when I say it should be in a closed session if we're talking about contractual things.
I am talking about a product that results from the contract. I mean, and certainly that's an open thing. We have a contract which says certain things in there, and they have to produce a product as a result of that contract. Now, are you saying we can only talk about the product that they produce in closed session?
Tom?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well,
Hold on.
I've just
I
been
need
ready
a
to
clarification of what you are saying. I don't get it. It seems to me that what you're saying is there's this box, and you have to operate within this box. And if you operate outside of that box, you're invalid or invalidating that particular segment of the contract or even the contract as a whole. When any contract written has a spirit, do you agree with that?
Not necessarily.
Okay. And now I understand where you're coming from.
Tom,
No, if you would like
Excuse
to
me,
let me
I've been
explain.
ready.
Yeah, let Tom have a say.
Thank you very much. Look, the reality is the board of directors has the authority to ask for any information that it wants in mass, individually. It has every right to ask for that. It has every right to ask for exactly the meetings that Jack is talking about, to where LU comes in and talks to the world. They want to do that. We as a board have every right to do that. The contract was written as a means of saying, and it's very similar to the contract we wrote with BCG, that it said a board of directors has a right to any of the information that is created by the subcontract. Same language, virtually the same language as the contract before. There's nothing wrong with that. This contract contains an organizational structure, a philosophy, if you will, of how this is going to be managed. Part of that management is that LU will meet with, and we do have an unofficial advisory committee, and we do have board members assigned as unofficial liaisons to that, to where LU faces the community quite often as to what they're doing and what they're not doing. Contractually, this contract calls for oversight from the board, oversight on how things are going. those three people were picked by the president of the board, as they were last year, to provide oversight. When someone wants to say, well, where's the oversight? Well, there wasn't a single board member on the oversight committee last year that voted against the contract. Not a single one. We now have a mixture via Pat's selection. We have Pat who voted for bringing LU in, and we have two people. We want to go back in history. You have two other people who did not vote for them to come. But quite frankly, set that aside. This board has an oversight responsibility to where they can sit in a room face to face with the executives of that subcontractor and have very frank discussions with them about how they're doing or how they're not doing. That is the reason there are two separate groups defined in the contract. One of which is an oversight group who needs to have the opportunity, call it closed session or not, to sit in a room eyeball to eyeball and say, where is your membership program? Where is the growth in memberships that you promised? Show me where this is. So the selection of people on that committee, there's only 3 seats, and the job of that group, 3 group, is to oversee what is going on, and there's a very good reason the contract has 2 different groups, one of which is a broader open community to the community, which is already going on, and the other one is an oversight committee that will in fact get in the room and have the tough discussions if they need to be. But this board has every right to request that LU walk in here and make whatever presentation it wants to whatever community group you want to have. We can do that. But this is not a contractual discussion when it comes to making it a town meeting. There's nothing wrong with a town meeting. You want to have a town meeting on golf, then we can vote to have it. We have that authority to do whatever we want. Now, as parliamentarian, there's not a single thing on this agenda referring to this topic, and there's not an addition made to this agenda to have this topic on there. Yeah, it's in his manager's report.
That's exactly right.
But a discussion of the contract is not part of the agenda.
It's not a discussion. It's not a discussion of contract. It is referring to the contract and a product that is required by the contract. And now is the time that we're supposed
Why don't you two guys just go settle this offline sometime? We got other work.
Excuse me, John.
Why don't you two just go settle this other one? Because it's up to you two to have this. What are you doing? I'm pointing at him and him. What are you doing? I'm trying to get back on track here.
You got to a reasonable point.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've lost that reason.
No, I haven't.
Now you're
I'm
emotional.
still be trying to move on. That's what I'm trying to do.
I think as far as I'm concerned, I asked the question, and I think the question is appropriate. I think the question has been answered, and I think that the situation is unsatisfactory, completely unsatisfactory as it stands right now, and it's going to be a repeat of what happened. So we'll move on, and we'll bring that up at another time, and the other time can be a special meeting. We'll call for it, and let's do it then.
Thank you.
Fine. I agree. Okay, moving along, we're in Bob's, anything else in Bob's work?
Yes, sir, Mr. Renault. One item I want to add is we have a purchase request, and I don't know if you want me to bring it up before public comments, then you vote on to it after, or you want, for the aerator. I can't remember what the board's preference was.
It's not we agreed to put it before.
So
I'm sorry. After public.
The process is exactly what you just said, Bob. You present it, we don't vote on it until we do.
That's so. If it's appropriate, I'll finish my GM report with the capital request without asking for a vote until after you have public comments. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Do we do the CPI evaluations now, or?
No, because I think you want to hear from the public before you do the CPI evaluation. So let me just do the request for the aerator, and I want to update one document for you. The aerator information was put in your report packets, and there was the second bidder. Actually, there was a little difference on that bid. So when I was reviewing it the other day, I caught it and called the Public Works team and asked them about it. It was again the second bidder. There was a what we're requesting is for item 1, it's an aerator. The second one down is actually a small.
No, I know.
All right, is everybody with me?
Yes.
I don't want to miss something. All right, so basically we're at it was budgeted for 10 grand. The purchase price inclusive of taxes, which was not on the original one you had, is $11,660. The one we're recommending by staff. It's a Jacobson. It's a deep tine aerator, and it's also a little wider base than the second bidder down. So that's our recommendation.
Do we have one now? We have an aerator now.
The one that we have is golf course has one, and we have one that's been broken. We repaired it, but
So this is not for the course. This is for
Public Works
okay.
for all ball fields, Somerset Park, all the other areas.
Yeah, so it's a replacement, not a replacement.
It is, but we don't vote yet. We'll do public comments, and then if it's all right, I'll get back up and ask.
Can I ask?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any I know what you're recommending, but I was curious. Is there any advantage to selecting one, even though it is the most expensive?
Well,
But it being by a local distributor, is there any advantage to that?
no, ma'am, but it's not. If you look at the updated bid sheet, it's not the most expensive one we're recommending.
No, I say the one I'm asking the question about.
Oh, if it
which
would be
has a
more
local
advantageous.
distributor is the most expensive.
Gotcha.
So that my question is there any advantage to paying a little bit more to have a local distributor?
No, and one of the things that you don't actually see in your packet here, the first item is actually an oversized aerator. It's larger than the other two priced out here.
Well, you said it in the information you gave us in our
Yeah,
packet.
yes. So we think that's the best purchase for us, and we do a lot where we'll buy things from out of the area. It can still be serviced locally, and usually, or someone. I mean, there's still the first one is still in Maryland, so we feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
Good question, though.
I have a question, Bob.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if I heard you explain it, but the quote that we have on the John Deere in our packet was for $83.45. Now it says it's $11,665. What's the discrepancy and why?
Yeah, there's two differentials there. One is it wasn't a deep tining. The one that we like is a deeper tine, so you get more aerification. But more importantly than that, where the biggest discount difference is, we had some stronger buying power with a previous engagement we had. Our buying power is not as strong anymore with that.
Which company?
We used to buy equipment like this, partnering with BCG. They're a national company. So we had their discounts. We no longer have their discounts for these type of products. An aerification, an aerifier, we actually would work with them through their national account purchase. So we don't no longer receive that level of discount.
Talking about the John Deere quote summary.
Correct.
John Deere.
Correct.
So that was the price he had given you at one time, and now it's gone up?
No, we had better pricing when we partnered with BCG as a national account. We no longer have that same level of pricing with John Deere, where we've changed accounts.
Those numbers were different. Tom's looking at one figure, one sheet paper.
Agreed.
8 something. This that was in our packet made it go up to $10,655, and now it is up to $11,665.
Correct. When I reviewed it over the weekend, I noticed there was a difference. The tines on the aerator were different. Okay, the deeper tine is a more expensive unit. We went back and made sure we had the pricing to match. Equipment has to match when you're pricing it out. It was off, so we went back to them on Monday and qualified it. We also had, so that raised the price slightly, but then when they realized we no longer had the same national buying power, we no longer get the same level of discount. So we're paying a different price structure.
Let me, one of the differences is in the replacement sheet, well, I just think I figured it out. In the replacement sheet that we were just handed, I believe the taxes are now included in the
Correct.
total, whereas before they were not. As an example, the bid from Jacobson said in essence $11,000. Now it's $11,660. That's a 6% tax.
Or Jacobson. He's talking about the second. He's talking about the John Deere.
Well, but Jacobson's number changed.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
but
why
the
I said-
difference of 83.45.
Right. Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm trying to figure it out too. You know, I mean, we went from 83, and it says it was updated September 29th of this year, and now their bid is
11,000.
11,000 because we've lost the discount.
One of the factors.
But we don't have a piece of paper.
I just received it this morning. I just received it this morning.
It's more
It's
than
where
that.
we're-
It's a different piece of it.
It's a little deeper time. I tell you, we can table it if it's going to be a challenge. I'll get the information out to you guys, and we'll do it next month. We have the opportunity to buy a Jacobson within $5 of the John Deere for a larger, better piece of equipment. So I was trying to bring that to you as quickly as I could. I'm sorry that it's a little bit off. The original, we're still making the same recommendation. We still want to buy the Jacobson because it's a better product. And as far as we're concerned, between the size of the piece of equipment for we're getting for the money, it's really that simple. We're not changing that. I just updated the second bidder, which we're not recommending anyway.
Let me make sure I understand what you just said. The John Deere is an Air Core 1000 aerator.
Yes,
at
sir.
8,300 and some odd bucks at dollar, right? Now, the John Deere on the front sheet is not the same piece of equipment. Is that
The
correct?
original one that you had in your packet
Right.
did not have the deep tines. So when I went and compared it over the weekend, what was submitted, I noticed that.
So it may be an Air Core 1000, but the tine is a separate unit that goes on the back.
A deeper.
Yeah.
Yes. Deeper coring unit.
I would like to call for a 5-minute recess because I have to use the restroom.
All right.
5 minutes. Just, it's 10:35. If I have public comments.